is it about government assistance that brings out the racism in people?
It's because of Ronald Reagan. In 1976, during his presidential campaign, he gave a speech. In that speech, he said that he's talking about someone anonymously on welfare. She has 80 names, 30 addresses. She's getting Medicaid, food stamps, and her take-home income at the end of the year is $150,000. The media went crazy, and they were looking for someone who fit that description. And they found someone in Chicago by the name of Linda Taylor. Linda was a professional scam artist, and no one even knew what she was racially. Depending on where she lived was what she was. She would tell people she was white. She would tell people she was black, mixed. She even identified as Hawaiian and Latina at one point. And actually, no one knew if Linda Taylor was even her real name. And it's believed that she wasn't even dressing like this until she was in Chicago, which gave a black face to welfare. Most of what Ronald Reagan said about her was an absolute lie. At most, Linda Taylor scammed about $8,000 from welfare, and she went to jail for it. She got out in 1980. She lived a life after that of relative obscurity, trying to do scams here and there, and even when she died, she had a completely different name as well. Crack babies never existed. In the 1980s, America swore they did. News anchors called them lost souls, and politicians called them a burden, and hospitals began flagging black mothers as drug users without proof. Science never backed it up. And after 20 years of research, not a single condition or disorder that could be labeled quote-unquote crack baby has been identified, nor is there evidence of the extent of harm that was predicted by physicians and trumpeted by the media. The real damage came from how society treated people. Black mothers were depicted as criminals, arrested, shamed, and had their children taken away. There were even songs to demonize people that had addiction. It was a way to criminalize black poverty and justify incarceration en masse. White people that go through the same kind of addiction with opioids are labeled as victims. But crack babies never existed, but the racism that created the idea that they did still does. Thousands of Mexicans were forced to take baths with gasoline at the US border. The US government forced them to strip, be sprayed with gasoline, and have their clothes fumigated for chemicals. The US government said it was supposed to stop disease, but it became a way to humiliate and control brown bodies. Women and men were photographed. Some even died in the process of fumigation and being sprayed with kerosene and gasoline. But women began saying no. They refused the bath. But when Border Patrol agents began to force them, riots broke out, and the bridge between El Paso and Ciudad Juarez was shut down. And for 3 days, mostly women and men threw rocks, flipped trolleys, but most of all, demanded dignity. Soldiers eventually crushed the protest. The baths didn't end. Unfortunately, they continued for several decades after that. They even inspired the same chemical methods that were used by the Nazis in Germany. This was more than a protest. It was a warning of what happens when fear turns into policy.